All right, good morning. My name is Aaron Richardson. I am the reference and instruction librarian for humanities and social sciences at Archbishop Alemany Library, your library. Today we want to dive into and examine the nature of an annotated bibliography in order to prepare for your assignment, which will be your Give Pulse Impacts 8 to 12 page research paper. I've pulled it up on the screen here. We will come back to it. Your annotated bibliography is designed to prepare you for the research process, to help you gather, sort through, and analyze the information sources that you'll use during the course of your research. So what I would like to do today is share with you the resources that are available to you through the library, and to then look at how we want to construct an annotated bibliography in order to best support your research, to make it as easy as possible. So let's jump in. So on the screen before you, you'll see the Archbishop Alemany Library. We often don't call it that full name. The library is a source of variety of things for you. First of all, let me note to you on the library landing page that you're able to chat with a librarian Monday through Thursday, basically. So if you have a question about how to do the annotated bibliography or anything related to this research project, finding sources, formatting your paper, that kind of thing, you can chat with a librarian. Second, you can schedule an appointment if you want to speak in more detail with a librarian. You can click on the icon there, and it will give you opportunity to make an appointment with somebody. So you can click on my name, and then you can schedule a date, and we can do a Zoom meeting, or we can do a Google Meet hangout, and you can get your questions answered that way. Then the other resource that will be valuable to you throughout the process is under the research guides. So if you see the tabs, iceberg, catalog, journals, databases, which we'll come back to. The last one is research guides. Research guides are a good starting point for all kinds of research projects. You can go down and select a subject. We're going to look at library tools and tutorials in a moment, but I will just point out I've also created some relevant research guides under service learning. So you can click on that and open them up. You'll see there's a research guide for homelessness, poverty, inequality. These are probably the two that will be most relevant. These others were created. General service learning guide, U.S. history guide on race, ethnicity. That has interesting sources. They are historical, but if you're writing, say, on race, ethnicity, and healthcare or something, you might dip into here to get some historical background information about the topic. Under homelessness, you'll see that there's background information on how to get into large background sources, encyclopedias on the subject of homelessness. These are excellent for providing background information, introduction to the subject, context. And then there are books in the library, articles in the library, web resources on the library, organized into Marin County sources, California sources, United States sources, federal sources. So these are also often going to be factual information, reports about the numbers of people who are homeless, various organizational websites, and then some tips on how to manage your research and go about writing. So that's homelessness. Likewise, poverty and income inequality will be relevant to you. So keep in mind that research guides are there for you. They are sort of curated collections of information organized into background information, encyclopedias, books, articles, web resources. So instead of doing a Google search for these informations and dealing with hundreds of thousands of results that are of mixed qualities, these are guides that I have created, curated the sources, vetted them, checked them for quality, excuse me, and made them available to you through the library website. So research guides. The other research guide that will be useful to you during this process is under Library Tools and Tutorials. And here you want to look at the A+ Guide Annotated Bibliography. This will provide you everything you need to know about what an annotated bibliography is, why we write a annotated bibliography. There's a video about how to do it. And then there's specific instructions about doing the annotation. It's written up here: summarize, categorize, connect, analyze. And you've got APA and MLA style here. I will direct you to APA style, which is what you should use. But if you want to know how to do an annotated bibliography, this guide is there for you under Library Tools and Tutorials. All right. So that is that. Let me close out some windows here. There's this one. And can I do that now? All right. So next, the other tool that you want to bookmark, you've probably seen Purdue Online Writing Lab, also known as Purdue OWL. What I would do is copy and paste this owlpurdue.edu and put it into your bookmarks. So you've got it handy. Likewise, I would do the same thing with your annotated bibliography. Open it, copy this, or just use your bookmarks or your favorites tab and put it in a folder there for research files. So Purdue OWL. This is a tool that will be useful for checking your work against a model and providing the rules for how to do your APA citations. On the left-hand menu here, under General Writing and Research Citation are the sources that you will want to look at. So first of all, under General Writing, open up the tab, the drop-down menu, and if you go to Common Writing Assignments, close the advertisements. Under Common Writing Assignments, there will be examples of research papers with suggestions about choosing a topic, identifying audiences, where to begin. So if you're lost, you might review some of this. But what we're going to look at is the Annotated Bibliography section. And here it gives you annotated bibliographies, introduction to the subject, breakdown of how to do the parts of an annotated bibliography. And then I'm going to draw your attention to the samples. Samples are models of what the APA annotated bibliography ought to look like. And if you scroll down, you'll see sample MLA. Keep this in mind for other classes. For Jennifer's class, you're doing APA, but you will probably at some point have to do an MLA annotated bibliography. To review MLA, APA, Chicago, these are just different styles of doing the same thing. They're different ways of doing the same thing. So if you scroll down to sample APA annotation, it shows you what it should look like. So the elements of the APA citation are here: author, date, title, and publisher. And then there is description of the source and commentary. And again, it reviews what an annotation should do, which is to say, to summarize and assess. I'll come back to that in just a second. But the first paragraph provides a brief summary of the author's project in the book, covering main points. Second paragraph points out the project's strengths and evaluates its methods and presentation. And he says this particular annotation does not reflect on the source's potential or important usefulness for a person's own research. You'll want to consult with the assignment that Jennifer has given you. Typically, you will describe how the source relates to your own research, how you intend to use it, how it's relevant to your own research. But again, consult the specific directions from Jennifer about what she wants in this annotation. But between the library tools and tutorial, which gives you the descriptions of how to annotate, and OWL Purdue how to annotate, and Jennifer's instructions about how to annotate, you'll be able to do the annotation, create the annotation. The way I usually describe it in simple terms is similar to what they have here, which is to say summary, evaluation, and reflection on application. Basically, you're describing the source and evaluating it. By describing it, you're saying who wrote the piece, who wrote the article, what the article is about, and its worth or value to the subject at hand, and how it's relevant to your particular research. So if I find an article on homelessness and mental illness, I will want to tell Jennifer and my reader that the book or the article is about X, Y, and Z. It was written by this person who's an expert in the subject for these reasons. And then after describing the work itself, I will do some kind of evaluation, which says, here's what the article contributes to research, and here's how it's relevant to my particular research project. Something like this. This article provides me with a statistical analysis of the relationship between mental illness and homeless, and therefore it helps me to get at the root causes of homelessness, something like that. All right, so again, these are 3 resources. When you sit down to work, you want to pull up the library tools and tutorials, annotated bibliography. Then you want to look at OWL Purdue, or Purdue OWL, under general writing assignments, annotated bibliography. And then the last one, 3, is the research and citation of Purdue OWL, which provides you everything you need to know about APA style. I'm hovering over the link here. It will give you the introduction, overview, and workshop, and then the style guide. So this will be useful for your annotated bibliography, but also for your final project, for your research paper, the 8 to 12 page paper. It will give you information about how to do in-text citation, and then it will give you information about how to do your reference list. So if you click on in-text citations, it will show you what it should look like. How to do in-text citation from organizations and different authors. And then if you go back to the left-hand menu, it will show you how to do your reference list, basic rules, which they would not continue to have that advertisement. How to do books, how to do electronic sources, etc. And then if you scroll down further, all the information about your headings and how the thing should look, the formatting. I like to point out to students the APA sample. Under the APA sample paper, you can see what it should look like. So they've got an actual paper here with notes in green and blue about how to do the different things. how to do your margins. It refers to formatting as well as the citation style, different parts of it, the abstract, etc. Check with Jennifer and her assignment to see if she wants you to do all of this in detail. If she does, then this is what you will need. I'm scrolling down here to the reference page. So this could give you a sense of what it should look like for your final paper. So again, note that there's a difference between an annotated bibliography and your final paper, but all of these sources are available to you during each stage of the process. The library sources and the Purdue OWL Writing Center. All right. If we were live, I would take some questions now, but we are not. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So looking at your research paper assignment is the place to begin. So you have looked at this probably in brief. I would go back and read through it in more detail so you know what you're aiming at. Nothing improves aim like having a target. Let me say that again. Nothing improves aim like having a target. If you think about a basketball player trying to put the ball in the net, a soccer player trying to put the ball into the goal, or a marksman with a bow and arrow trying to hit the bullseye in the center. Nothing improves aim like having a target. So your target is going to be the assignment itself, and at an intellectual level, the target is going to be the answer to your research question. So the first step in getting clear about the target is reading the assignment carefully, reviewing it to see what is required of you. And second, within that, the goal of research is to answer a set of questions. So Jennifer has kindly and usefully given you the questions here, and that you are expected to answer over the course of your research paper. What I would do is go through and read those, reflect on them, and I would actually write down on a notepad, or if you're working electronically in Google Docs or your Word documents, I would copy those questions into a separate document, and I would try to answer them at the beginning. That is to say, before doing research, try to answer them. That will tell you what you already know about the subject. It will tell you how you understand the question. It will help you to understand how your preliminary answers to the questions. That is before you do research, right? You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from some pre-understanding, some already existing understanding of the question of homelessness or inequality or race, ethnicity, and mental illness, or whatever it is you're writing about. It will give you the opportunity to define your terms and to reflect on your starting points for research. So, and again, I would do that for each one of these questions. I would go through and, take the text, write up the questions, think about the questions, and then write a 1 to 2 or 3 answer, 2 to 3 sentence answer to your questions. Again, and that will give you the opportunity to reflect on the questions thoughtfully and to provide some preliminary answers to the questions. Doing that will put you in a position to more thoughtfully, intelligently use the databases that are available to you on the library web pages to research your question. So, to do that, my approach would be this. I would open up Google Scholar, and we're going to use both the Google Scholar and the databases. Once I got to Google Scholar, I would bookmark this or save it into my favorites under a research folder. And then I would go to the databases and I would pull up View All Databases with Descriptions. Databases are going to get you into articles. Note here on the drop-down menu, you can search by subject matter. So global and public health would be relevant to you. Health science might be relevant to you. History might be relevant to you. Cultural studies might be relevant to you. Philosophy might be relevant to you. Psychology, political science might be relevant to you. Communication might be relevant to you if you're looking at some aspect of policy and the creation of policy. But think in advance what your topic is and what questions you want to answer, and then think what disciplines might be addressing those topics. So for example, if you're interested in educational equality or the root causes of educational inequality, and you want to know about why educational access is unequal, for example, you might want to look into the education databases, and you might want to look into the history databases to provide context. And then finally, you might want to look into something like political science or psychology to determine what are the causes of those problems. A general starting point for interdisciplinary research, if you don't know specifically what you're looking for and you want to browse or you want to do a general search, I recommend Academic Search Complete. That will get you into a database that provides journal articles from a variety of different sources. So Academic Search Complete will get you into a database that will pull from journals in a variety of disciplines. It will pull from history journals, political science journals, education journals, psychology journals. So I recommend it as a sort of one-stop shop for databases. And as it loads, close out my window there. I would go to Google Scholar. Google Scholar is going to give you scholarly, unlike Google itself, Google Scholar will give you access to scholarly journals, books, articles related to your topic. They are not all necessarily peer-reviewed, though many of them are. Google Scholar will not tell you if it's been peer-reviewed. That being said, the quality of the articles is going to be superior to anything you find on Google because they're largely, if almost exclusively, coming from university publications, from scholars at different universities. So I'm going to take educational inequality. Notice as I do, it's giving me all of these related search terms. Watch those as you do your search. The computer algorithms are giving you suggested search terms that you might follow. So it will provoke your imagination about which terms you might want to use. Educational institutions, educational planning. These are all aspects of the problem, of some problem related to education. I'm going to continue on with mine. Educational access. Notice that I've got accessibility, accomplishments, access, and equity. I'm actually going to go with that one. I think that's more useful than my initial one, which was just going to be educational access. So search term, educational access and equity. And here we go. Results list is giving me 2 million results. Obviously, I will not sort through 2 million results, though I might well go through 1 to 10 pages of those results. Notice on the left, the menu provides me the option to limit the range. I'm actually going to do that because I'm interested in articles that have been published in the last 20 years. Run the search again. And then you could sort by date, which will give you the more recent stuff first. I'm going to leave it as is, but be aware that you can filter. When we get into the databases, you'll have more freedom, more power to sort things and filter things. But in Google Scholar, there are a few ways to do this. So here are the results list. Before we look at the results list, notice again related searches. These related searches will provide you alternative search terms. Reading through higher education and access equity. That's interesting. Notice the first term there, higher education, is more specific than my general search term, education, access, and equity. So I could also change that from higher education, access, and equity to lower education, or K through 12 access, education, access, and equity, or middle school access and equity. So by specifying the level of education, I'm going to get a narrower set of results. Language diversity, educational access by language would be an interesting aspect of the topic. Gender equity, you could add racial equity or class equity. So review those. Review the related searches in Google. This is something that Google will do that the databases will not. So I often like to play back and forth between Google and the databases. So once I find a set of results that I like, I run various search terms. Elementary education, social equity. Okay. Notice that when I find an article that looks relevant to me, I can read the summary that's there. I can open it up. And what I'm looking for when I open it up is basically the first paragraph, which will provide me a summary of what it's about. This one jumps right in. I've got access to the whole article immediately. But since I'm just beginning my research and trying to determine whether an article is relevant to me, to my topic, I'm going to read the first paragraph. Some of them will have an abstract, and we'll get into the databases. I'll show you that. But I can read the summary that's available here. I can review again here. So look at the title, then look at the summary description that's available to you, either on the Google landing page of results, or dip into it and find the summary or the first paragraph or so to see what the thing is about and to see whether it's going to give you the information you're seeking, and whether it is relevant to your topic at all. Say you find something that's relevant, like this, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth one here. Access and equity for African American students in higher education. This one's interesting because it's very specific. It's looking at African American students in college or university. And it's providing a critical race historical analysis of policy. So that's very interesting. It's very specific, right? It's telling you that it's going to focus on the subject of access for African Americans at the college level, and it's providing a historical analysis of policy issues with reference to the subject of race. It's a very specific topic, which is what scholarly articles will do for you. So I can dip into this, having read the summary, and this one doesn't offer me an abstract anywhere, I don't think. I don't see it. So I would go in and I would read the first 1 or 2 paragraphs. I would also note who the author is and where they are coming from. That's going to be relevant to your annotated bibliography. It's also relevant to the credibility of the paper, the reliability of the paper, and the credibility of the authors. I would note also other related articles. People also read is telling me that other researchers in this area looked at these. Looks like we do not have full access to this one, although we may be able to get access through our databases. But the point here is to, again, assess quickly and effectively whether it's relevant to our topic. If it is, notice on the right, if I'm logged into the Dominican website, under PDF JSTOR, I could click this and it will take me to our databases in the Alemany library and give us access to the article directly. But we're still just looking at we're surveying results, and we're trying to see what's available to us before we go in and read any one article in depth. So what I want to point out before we leave Google Scholar is this cited by 626 related article, all 22 versions. You won't be concerned with 22 versions, but you might find useful cited by and related articles. Cited by 626. Click on it. This results provides you 626 other articles that use or cite the article that we were just looking at on inequality for African American students at the university level. That means that there are 626 other possibilities written by scholars who have used that initial article. That will be useful to getting you into a scholarly discussion, right? You have one scholar citing another, which means that scholar A read scholar B's work, and then scholar B read scholar C's work and scholar A's work. So they're in a scholarly conversation. Once you get into the scholarly conversation, you will find arguments back and forth about topics. You'll have different interpretations of policies. You'll have different historical analysis. So once you find the relationship between articles, who's talking to whom about the topic, you're golden. And you can do the same thing at different levels once you've gotten in. Note also the related articles. This is Google's way of using some kind of algorithm to connect related articles. So again, you'll find more information than you could ever use by following the works cited and related articles in Google Scholar. But again, I usually leave Google Scholar open because it's helpful to kind of go quickly through results, looking at titles. Also, the related searches is really helpful to me. I can go quickly from one to another. Access, equity, and policy efforts. It continues to give me equity for Latino students, public policy. So all of the language that you need to search, what we call search terms, Google provides a very, very useful and provocative tool for that. I'll leave Google Scholar open for now, leave my assignment open. And then, all right, academic search complete. So I have all of these tabs open. Now, having taken some search terms, I'm just going to copy my search terms over from Google Scholar into Academic Search Complete. I'm going to eliminate the quotations because quotations give me only exact results. So delete those. If I do access and equality and policy efforts, the database will give me each of those terms. If I did access or equity or policy efforts, it will give me this or that or that. Then delete policy efforts. So I'm interested in all of those terms. I want access or equity and policy. You have to play with these and try a variety of it. You have to experiment, basically. So this is going to give me this term or this term and necessarily this term. And if I leave it for all text, it will search all of the articles in which access or equality and policy occur. That's going to give me a broad result. Let's see. I'm guessing there'll be thousands of results, yeah, millions, right? Because those are very common terms. So I could go through and browse and survey these results if I'm just trying to get my orientation in the field to see what kind of stuff is written. But 2 million pages, 2 million articles, and I could go through page after page of those. As I browse, again, I'm looking at the language that's being used, goals, policies, fairness, inclusion, equity policy, reform, health policy. And notice that I'm missing a key term. I didn't even catch this until now. My topic is education. So I want educational access or educational equity and policy. And I'm going to limit it further to title. So now I'm going to get this or this and policy in the title. Let's see what that gives me. Should be down to hundreds. Yeah, there we go. Now it's manageable. 143 results. So in principle, I could go through all 5 or 10 pages that are there. But before I do that, I want to limit it to full text available to me in the library completely. That gets us down to 115. And I want scholarly peer-reviewed journals. That's key. Jennifer will want scholarly peer-reviewed, which gets us down to just 96 results. That's actually doable. Notice the date range on the left. I'm working with refined results filtering to limit, and I want something in the last 20 years. Let's see what that does. Now I'm down to 88 results. And I could limit it further by subject, by publication. Chinese sociological, that's not relevant to me. Clinical orthopedics, that's probably not relevant to me. I'm going to leave it for now. So 88 results in, I don't know, let's see how many pages there are. There's probably 5 or 10 pages of results. Yeah, it looks like 40 on one page. So 88 results. Now the question is reviewing the results for relevance to my particular topic. So again, I'm going to approach the task the same way by looking at the title and by looking at the available summary here. The value, the superiority of database results to Google Scholar in part consists in knowing that we can limit to peer-reviewed stuff and knowing that we can limit and filter more intelligently, more effectively than in Google Scholar. Google Scholar is good again for reviewing results and getting ideas and surveying the field. But once we go in and we start searching, the databases are going to be a more powerful search tool. The other advantage here to reviewing results is this little icon with the magnifying glass. This will enable us to look at authors, source, date, publication type. Again, notice the subjects, inclusive education. We could take any one of those and use it as a search term. But this is what I would like to point out, the abstract. The abstract gives you a paragraph summary of what the article is about. So I can read quickly through a paragraph to see if this meets my needs. And since my focus is California or America or Marin County, Finland, I already see is not going to be relevant to me. In the title here, I see Abu Dhabi. That's not going to be relevant to me unless I want to do some comparative work, but probably not. What happened to Beacon Schools? Policy reform and educational equity. That one may be relevant. It's Oxford Review of Education. So I know that that's England. Yeah. So England. So one thing I'm finding immediately, the next one is England, the borderlands, lat crit. Open that, review it. Purpose of the study is reform policy, blah, 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 blah. Uses a lat crit informed by spatial. I don't know what that means. In New Mexico. Okay, so if my focus is the United States, this may be relevant. But what you're seeing is that geography matters in formulating our topic. So educational access and policy, and I'm going to do California. I'm going to use all text. Now results may be too little here, and therefore I would see if I can open it up a little bit. I might need to narrow this. I'm going to delete policy. Let's see, 25 results. Okay, so now we're community colleges. I don't see California in the title, but I didn't require that. So, reviewing the results, I can do two things now to open it up. I've got 25 results. These may or may not be relevant. I'd have to review and evaluate. If I limit California to title, I got nothing. If I broaden it out to all text and all text, this is going to give me a broader set of results. Okay, so now I got 3,000 results. And I would go through the process again, looking at titles, reviewing the abstract, and then I would go back to Google Scholar. California may be too narrow for the databases, but let's see what we've got here. So 409 results, access, equity. So I might look at some of these, and I would look at related searches. I would look at cited, and then go back and forth between the databases, Google Scholar, playing with your search terms. You could limit it further to Marin County. I wonder what that does. Let's see. Okay, I've got 44 results. So what you're seeing here is if you don't specify geography, you get a very large set of results, which may be fine if you're interested in comparative international analysis, but I think Jennifer wants you to focus more narrowly with your community partners. So you'll probably want to limit to California, and you'll probably want to eliminate to Marin County, or maybe even the city level. When we get into the city level, I'll show you one more thing before we close up this lecture. But you get the idea. Marin, access, equality. You could limit it further, African American students, Marin, or Latino students, Marin. Back and forth between the databases and Scholar until you find articles that you see to be relevant. When you do find an article that's relevant, you need to figure out some way of saving it. So going back to the databases, you'll see the PDF full text. You could open it there and then save the full text. On the right, you can save an article to Google Drive. You could save it to disk or to your desktop. You could export it as a PDF. You could save the permalink. Important, Do not copy the URL. If you're going to save it as a link, make sure to use the permalink. A URL in the databases is temporary. What you need to save it permanently is the permalink. That's important. If you save it as the URL and try to come back to it later, you won't be able to. So save it in Google Drive. You could create an account and put it in a folder, save it to disk, or save it as a link. Here you can save URLs. You could also save the search results. Put it in a Google document. You could try your different search results and save the whole set of results. Or you could download the PDF and then save the PDF, but figure out some way of working. Use folders, use your favorites, your bookmarks to keep the stuff organized. And once you've gotten your articles saved, then the next step is going to go through and read them, do your analysis, return to the questions that you asked initially, and answer those questions. Obviously, you're not going to answer all of these questions in your annotated bibliography, but while you're reading, what you'll be aiming at answering eventually is the article or the questions for your Give Pulse Impacts paper. For your annotated bibliography, you're simply trying to, again, understand what the article is about and how it is relevant to research on the topic, and in particular to your research purpose. All right. So before I leave, I said I would give you some insight about getting to local sources. So using Google will get you into Marin local sources, Marin County Education CASC. So my search term is this. Google is very free. You can multiply terms and it will search for any of those terms and it will rank your results. Notice among my 1 million results, the green is the URL address. And what you want to pay attention to in Google is the .org or .com or .net. There's a .net. You can limit your URL domain this way, site:/.org. So what I'm doing is limiting the sites that come up to just organizational websites. Now you look at all the green, they all say .org. Notice where they're coming from. The first one, marincounty.org, marinschools.org, marinlibrary.org, marinpromisepartnership.org. And then notice what they are. County Renews, that looks like some kind of news piece. Education Services, that's the general page. Marin Office of Education, that's the general page for the Office of Education. Equity initiatives, that might be interesting to look at. Educational equity audit for Novato, that might be interesting, some kind of report or audit about how Marin and San Rafael schools are doing on the subject of equity. Strategic plans might be interesting. So these are good places to begin research and reference for fact checking and stuff, to get a kind of immediate city level or county level context to see what people are doing. Also, for reports and audits, they often have bibliographies which you can mine and use to find articles and other sources that are relevant to the topic. So, and again, Google will give you related searches. So I would keep, when I'm doing my research, I would keep all of those open. I would first have the assignment open so I know what I'm doing. I would open a Google Docs or a Word doc so that I can take some notes. Library page, which is going to give me research guides, again, for service learning, homelessness, and what was the other one we said? Sorry. Homeless and poverty and income inequality and race, ethnicity, and immigration. But also your annotated bibliography guide is there. So the library webpage, which is going to get you into the databases, your research guides. Keep open Academic Search Complete or whatever database you're using. Google Scholar to review and find sources and have suggested search terms. Google to fact check. You can limit by .org or .gov is going to give you just government sites. So this is data and statistics. So there's going to be more information than you need through the databases, through Google Scholar, and through government and organizational websites. Your task will be to search intelligently, to think about what you want to know, what kind of information you need, whether it's background information or data and statistics or analysis or policy evaluation or interpretation. Think about what it is you're looking for, what kind of information you need. And then the last trick is going to be to read critically, to read quickly, to scan results, looking at titles, looking at summaries, and then selecting among the many, many sources, the ones that are most relevant to what you're trying to do. So I'll return to where I started. Nothing improves aim like having a target. In order to hit your target, you need to be clear about what questions you're trying to answer. That will lead you to your searches, which will enable you to find the relevant information that will help you to answer the questions. So study the assignment carefully. Think about the questions that you want to answer. Write out your preliminary answers to their questions. Then go do your research, do your reading, and then come back and try to answer those questions again in your research paper. For the annotated bibliography, this is a halfway mark. It's a stepping stone to the 8 to 12 page paper. The better you do your bibliography, the easier it will be to write up your paper. So if you have questions or you need any help during this process, you can, again, contact me through the library. You can chat with us, or you can schedule an appointment, or just send me an email. My email address is on the website under Meet Our Team, Aaron Richardson, and good luck.